Good afternoon, everyone. Um, so in 2020, I walked away from a page that had 20,000 followers and I left $80,000 on the table. And so today, I would like to share three lessons I learned from building and failing at business. My name is Samantha, by the way. And the first lesson I learned is the day that you plant the seed is not the day that you eat the fruit. And so when I started growing my Instagram page, I started off with 0 followers. I didn't have friends, so I didn't ask anyone to follow my page. And so I had to grow it from scratch. And that meant showing up consistently every single day for 6 months before we hit 20,000 followers. And so imagine if I had quit the first month when I had only 100 followers. That would mean that I would not have had the opportunity to have met with different celebrities, grown a community, and met with people that had patronized my brand ultimately. So that's the first lesson. And the second lesson I learned is comparison is a thief of joy. So as a business person, sometimes you find yourself looking at your fellow business people, or comparing yourself with fellow people in your industry, and you assess and check in and say, hey, am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? And ultimately, you could find yourself entering that deep darkness that's called comparison. And that's where I found myself. Unfortunately, I saw a page that was very similar to mine, selling the exact same product, and it looked like they were growing faster than I was growing. And that put a lot of pressure on me and my mental health. Keep in mind that this was deep in COVID 2020, so we were isolated, meaning we had a lot of time to sit in our thoughts and negativity and all of that. And so, unfortunately, due to comparing myself consistently, I started to feel like I wasn't doing enough and I wasn't doing well in business. And I left everything I was doing and focusing more on what I wasn't doing right. And unfortunately, I ended up having to stop my business at the end of 2020 due to not showing up in ways I used to show up previously. And so, second lesson I learned, like I said, was comparison is a thief of joy. And the third lesson I learned is sometimes you might actually be winning without knowing or without taking notes that you're winning. So remember I said I stopped my business in 2020, right? Fast forward to 2023, the person I was comparing myself with, or the business I was comparing myself with, wanted to sell their business. And of course, if you're selling your business, you need to be transparent with figures, right? Mind you, as of 2020, it seemed as though they were consistently selling out and doing well and outperforming the metrics that I had set for myself. And so 2023, they're selling their business, and you can see all the raw data, you can track all the raw data. And I actually found out that with 3 years, with them 3 years in business, the amount they had made in 3 years was not the same as the amount I had made in just 1 month of business, which is crazy. Because if I had stayed consistent, if I had continued, only God knows where I would be by now. But we're not dwelling on the past. The main takeaway with what I'm trying to say now is very, very important that you measure success by your own metric and not by someone else's standard or what the world has told you success is. There's this quote my mom likes to say a lot. She says we're a microwave generation, meaning that we want fast success or that we want things done immediately. So once again, the day that you plant the seed is not the day that you eat the fruit. Staying consistent, staying on your path, continuing to push forward regardless of what life has thrown at you is very, very key in succeeding. And the last step is you could be succeeding without knowing necessarily. You just need to keep on going. And then most importantly, don't stop 3 feet from gold. Because maybe if you keep digging, maybe if you keep on keeping on, you could get there. Thank you. My name is Samantha.